Welcome, everyone, to the Chapel Sessions, a sacred space for the human experience presented through the lens of an artist, a musician, and a special guest. I'm really excited about today's episode. I'm proud to present artist Matt Campos, beadworker, shamanic practitioner, and amazing jeweler, and Lorraine Weiss, our musical guest, who is also a spiritual healer and artist yourself, and Tom Ragan, who is a studio director at Studio at West in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and board president of the New Mexico Film Foundation. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Bobby.
Yeah, I'm really excited. We're here at the Lamy Chapel. We're on Tesuque Pueblo, here at the Resort Bishop's Lodge. This chapel was built in the 1850s. I would say that we could talk about anything. I'm sure a lot of conversations have happened here before. So I'm going to leave it open to talk about anything you want to talk about. Every experience, I think, is sacred. And so that's why we're doing these interviews here at the chapel. Matt, you are my very
Yes.
close friend, and I've asked you to do so many things, and you say yes, and so I appreciate that. But I'm really fascinated by your beadwork, what you've done in the art world and carved your own space into this world, and it's just really amazing. What brought you to Santa Fe, New Mexico, as an artist?
I had no plan to come here as an artist. I had a 35-year career in luxury retail, and during the pandemic, that career vanished, and I decided not to go back. I'd always wanted to leave. I'd always wanted to go back to making my art and doing healing work, and the pandemic kind of answered my prayers in an unfortunate way, but I have no regrets. So I just started looking around of where I wanted to live, and luckily I landed in Santa Fe. And it just has so much more than what I thought I needed. It had what I needed.
You know, when things kind of end abruptly in my life, sometimes I reach for them, and sometimes I just let them drop. So were you reaching a little bit for that past career, or were you in a place where you could actually just let it drop?
Oh, I was good.
You're good.
I was
Okay.
done. I was done.
Okay. So why beadwork as your medium?
I actually avoided beadwork. I was years ago. I was doing wood carving and stone carving, basket weaving. I was doing everything, and then I watched a lot of YouTube videos from artists that I love, and there were two that I really love. Carrie Atombi and Terry Greaves. They're two sisters, amazing artists, and they were giving this interview, and they said, artists work in a lot of different mediums. And they said, but at one point you have to choose one and get really good at it, because if you don't, then you're just a hobbyist. And I was like, ooh, wow.
Yes,
So-
that is. Raise your hand at the table if you're a beadworker.
I am,
Oh,
but bigger beads. I mean, I assemble things, so I know what goes into doing the little tiny meditative. It must be very meditative.
yes.
Beadwork.
Yeah.
When I visit Matt's studio to talk with him about life and catch up, he has this kind of a space and all these little beads that he's picking up and doing the work while we're talking, and it's just so meditative. I know you're an introvert, and so you don't like to create too much around people. Is that correct?
Yeah. It's not performance anxiety. I just love being by myself. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and Cooper,
And my dog Cooper.
yes. Well, you're wearing one of your pieces, and it
Yeah.
is stunning.
This
There's
It's so beautiful.
This
So
is,
beautiful.
The simple meaning of this piece is, if you look at it, I was inspired by those sand gravel gardens in Japan where they rake the gravel into a meditative garden. But the real meaning of this, I made this for my dad.
yeah.
He sacrificed a lot. He was this quiet man who, super intelligent, really creative, was actually a great oil painter, but never asked for anything. Just very low key, and so, and he was small in stature, and so I wanted to make something for him, so people can see who he is. So
I really love that. Yeah,
It's beautiful.
thank you.
there's 4 elements in there that I see. Do you mind describing what those are?
They're just very meditative. You know, in a Japanese garden, they take these natural rock formations that can refer to mountains or forests, and so that's what these items are, and they're made from, you know, antique carved bone, a lot from Africa. So,
Where did your dad grow up?
in the Philippines,
Okay.
I was born there, and we moved here to the States in the 70s. So.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. No, he sacrificed. My parents both sacrificed a lot to come here.
I grew up here in Santa Fe, but in my formidable years, I bounced around in Los Angeles and Southern California, much like you did, right? And so we were kind of bouncing around. We didn't know each other back then,
Oh,
but
yeah.
we have some similar stories.
Same circles.
Same circles, which is kind of interesting. Yeah. So that's beautiful. I love it. I love your bolo ties. We call them grand bolos. They're just super great with the small, intricate beadwork in there. It's just really beautiful.
I love bowl jewelry. Someone asked me once, you know, would you make a smaller version? And I'm like, well, you can go to Kohl's if you want smaller jewelry.
Right.
Sorry, Kohl's. Yeah, I just like bowl jewelry.
Go big or go home,
Go
right?
big or go home.
Yeah.
And the other interesting thing about my dad is he's very left-brained. He was a brilliant mathematician. He went to Harvard and studied economics. But he was a beautiful oil painter. And the way he got there was he heard, when he was in college, he heard there were nude models in painting class.
Okay.
So he started taking them. But he was a beautiful painter. Like when we went to my grandmother's house, there'd be all these paintings, beautiful oil paintings of Rubenesque women bathing in fountains and waterfalls. And I mean, I don't even know what my grandmother thought about that. But
Yeah.
I wish I had one of those paintings.
I really love that. And I know personally that you are getting into oil painting after how many years?
30 years.
30 years. That's a Saturn's return worth. So perhaps you're stepping into this new
Maybe.
medium.
Maybe.
Wow.
You know, when I was in art school, one of our professors said, you know, the majority of you will never have a career in art. It's just a fact, and it is a fact. And for me to go back to basically making my living making art is pretty amazing to me. So, and also I never considered myself a painter. So jumping back in after 30 years is daunting but exciting.
There's this like creative fire within us that we just have to output it, and we do that in so many different ways that we just have to do, no matter if it's gonna be profitable.
Right.
You know, artists just do it and step up to the blank canvas or you know, start creating. You know,
Yeah, I call it the itch you have to scratch.
the itch you have exactly. Speaking of itches you have to scratch, Lorraine, you're really have a beautiful musical history, and do you feel the same where it's an itch you have to scratch? Is it something that?
Yeah, I think, because I was just going to say, you know, the 10,000 hours theory, that anything you put that much time into, eventually you're going to get good at. And it kind of also follows, you know, the do what you love, whether you're getting paid or not. And in my experience, you end up getting paid somehow. Or it comes from kind of miraculous other places so that it supports you doing what you love. And because I never thought, I don't think in terms of money. I wish I did more, you know, sometimes, but it's more that, you know, if you're passionate about something, you can't not do it.
You know, there's
You know,
this.
you just have to.
Yeah.
Play music or make art or film or.
You're a spiritual healer as well, so I'm sure that there is this cognizant recognizing of a spirit of lack versus abundance, the spirit of abundance, and how do you reconcile these things wherever you're from, wherever you come from, and to really focus on your creative art and bring in abundance through it.
I think it's a matter of faith or trust in some way, for me anyway, because I don't think of myself as a healer. You know, that's kind of a byproduct of getting deeply involved with trying to understand, you know, what is spirituality, what is energy, what is consciousness, who am I, you know, all the kind of spiritual questions. And everything seems to have a life of its own. You know, it evolves. I never said, I never even wanted to work with people.
Right.
I mean, I just wanted to play music.
Right.
But music took me into bringing people into meditative spaces and into experimenting with how sound affects the body. And I think it's the same way with jewelry. You know, if I make a piece, which I definitely don't spend as much time as you do, but it's still a meditation. And, you know, it affects the person who wears it. You know, they can feel the energy you've put into that. And I think I segued from your original question.
I think you did it beautifully because, you know, I've been thinking about going back a little bit to your surfing career and sound and how that correlates. And so when you're out there, I know when I was out there surfing, waiting for these waves, there's different sounds 100 feet out from the shore that are happening. And when you wipe out, there's different sounds there. And so you become quite aware of sound relationship to functionality of standing up on this surfboard to make it. And so, you know, if you go back to that time and then fast forward to now in your interaction and play with sound, this ongoing discovery of sound, do you feel that surfing relates in any way? Am I bridging too far of a...
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think we're the kind of sum totals of anything we've ever done and spent time and loved. And even though, I mean, you know, my history around surfing, competitive surfer, and then at 19, overnight, I came down with a disease that affected my joints in a way that I could never surf again. And so that love of being part of something so vast as the ocean. And you know, if you've ever been in close to drowning situation where you don't know which way is up, and you know that it's like so silent in a way. I think that translates to, for me, the music comes from stillness. You know, there has to be a deep silence that you play from. And I think that originated with probably some near drowning experiences in surfing. And what I segued from surfing was losing the thing I loved most in life. You know, that I was absolutely, my identity was all about it, my life was all about it. And looking at, well, what can I do now that I can't do that? And what else do I love? And I'd always loved music. I never thought of it in terms of sound healing. That came later. But it didn't occur to me that I couldn't just start playing music.
Right.
And again, it was not thinking, well, I'm going to make a living from this, because that wasn't even in my reality. I was a total beginner at 25.
So sorry.
Now, were you not playing music when you were surfing?
No, surfing, I was pretty one-focused. I mean, I used to, when I was young, hitchhike to the Fillmore and hear all the great bands and take LSD. And, you know, so music was my first love of, you know, something outside of myself. And constantly listening to music. But, no, all I did was surf, travel the world and surf. And so it was it was an abrupt, my life, and I don't know if this is true for you guys, has been pretty, well, yeah, when, like you said, when COVID happened, you know, it's like it's just a stop and then a totally new direction. It's not like a gradual shift into things. It's kind of like no previews.
I think that from talking with Tom, my friend here, we both have had these situations where our life stopped, and we had to kind of rebirth ourselves a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that you've been reborn into Albuquerque.
Yeah.
But what was your life before? You know, what have you always been into film and producing and directing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think so. I grew up in Colorado. My dad was military, and once I was in kindergarten, he was like, "I'm not moving anymore," so we stayed in Colorado until I graduated college. And in high school, I got really into performing in theater arts, and from there, wanted to be in front of the camera, write comedy, do things like that. And I think after I graduated college, I moved to New York. I was there for about 10 years, and that was, a quick smack in the face. You know, as a kid in college, you think you're doing really successful and really great, and once you get out of school, you're going to be this big time director, and the rest of the world's like, fuck you, no you're not. So that's what happened to me, and I did a lot of internships and really got more into documentary work when I was in New York. And that's put me more behind the camera and more seeing things in a different light in terms of directing and producing film and video. So then a lot of personal things happened that sort of brought me here, and I don't know if there's enough time to go into that or enough whiskey in our coffee to review that.
Each episode is 10 hours, right. So don't worry.
Right, but I landed here in Albuquerque.
How long ago was that?
3 years ago. So I started at the studio West in October 4th, 2021. I remember that date very vividly because it's a very fine line, as we've talked about, of my life changing from being married, living in Brooklyn, self-employed, to single, living in Albuquerque under a salaried position. So life totally changed in that sense. And then, I'm happy with what I'm doing in the last 3 years. I feel like I found my footing and what I'm doing and what I'm trying to build here. So.
The studio at West in Albuquerque is really fascinating. I've gotten to explore the campus there. It's really wonderful, and there's so many creative people that are there, and they have screenings there and a sound studio that is being built currently.
Right. And maybe I should give a little details about the studio West. So West is a nonprofit organization that helps small businesses in New Mexico start and grow their business. So small business training, consulting, we have a lending department, and in Albuquerque we have our incubator building. Inside of the incubator building, they also built the studio at West, which is a 3-wall green screen psych sound stage. It also has stadium seating that we can do presentations and screenings. And the reason why they built that, if you know anything about nonprofits, which I'm sure all of you do, earned revenue is kind of like gold for nonprofits. We can do anything we need to with that because most grant funding has regulations and restrictions on how you can actually spend it. So they built the studio with the idea of generating revenue. So that's why it's open to anyone, minus cannabis industry because we get federal funding. So can't touch that.
I don't think our guests have ever heard of cannabis before. It's something that. But you're also the board president of the New Mexico Film Foundation.
Yeah, that happened about 2 months ago. This is December, so in October I became the board president of the New Mexico Film Foundation. And I joined the board because independent film, in my opinion, is really important to economic growth as well as creative freedom in that sense. So I've always been an independent filmmaker. I appreciate unions, and I think it's very good that we have unions, but I think it's a symbiotic relationship between independent and big budget union films. So the New Mexico Film Foundation, to me, kind of coexisted in the sense of the same mission as the studio at West, because the studio is a great space for independent filmmakers. It's not a large backlot or anything like that. It's great for indie filmmakers and smaller budgets. So yeah, I joined the board maybe a year ago, and they nominated me as the president about 2 months ago. So, yeah.
I love that.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
Tom
you.
is also our esteemed director of the chapel sessions here, and so it's really exciting to have you here.
What a great
I'm
point.
happy to be here. Yeah, yeah.
I feel like this video audio podcast experiment has surrounded me with so many great people, and I really love that. And there's great to have this vehicle, this spaceship almost, to house this kind of conversation and musical experience. And speaking of that kind of location, one of my favorite places in the world that I've gone to several times is in Arizona. It's Arco Santi. Architect Paulo Soleri, created this beautiful place, to make this habitat for people that is, solar passive and eco-friendly. And there's a huge amphitheater, and it's gorgeous. And Lorraine, you were a special musical guest for the recent Form Festival that happened in the fall, and you got to perform there.
I'm still kind of in awe, and I didn't know the place, and I didn't know the festival. I knew nothing about it, and there's a few people that if they invite me anywhere, I just say yes. Like Bobby's one of them for sure. And
Thank you.
one of my clients from LA said, "Would you consider playing at Arcosante?" And I'd never heard of it, and playing at the Form Festival, and I'd never heard of that, and I'm almost embarrassed to say that because it is such an amazing place. Then I researched it, and then I talked to some musical friends, and one of my friends, my young friends, said, "That's the coolest festival on earth." And so, of course, I Googled every single person playing there, and a lot of them I hadn't heard of. And the place itself, it coincided with Taschen, the people that I was invited were involved with the Taschen books, the Sacred Sites, and Sacred Sites had just come out. It was called the Library of Esoterica, so I was part of that whole thing, plus music. But it is a sacred site. I was blown away. Have you been?
I've
Anybody
never been.
I haven't been.
Well, Bobby had been.
Yes, I went there, and I was just blown away. You can camp there. There's a few camping spots, and there's 10 rooms there, but people are living there. And I was just blown away by it, and I really got into sacred geometry and frequencies and all of these things that are so special in our daily lives. And Arco Santi has all of these elements to it that is just ongoing. There's an educational element to it, and it's really a beautiful place to be, to stay for a few nights, to volunteer at. And it's part of the Cosanti experience, that's in Scottsdale as well. So you have like Frank Lloyd Wright's a huge architect out there, and Paulo Soleri, which we had the Paulo Soleri Amphitheater here
Yeah.
in Santa Fe. And so when I heard you were going, Lorraine, I remember reaching out to you and just saying, wow, this is going to be amazing. And I called all my friends and told them you were going to be there.
And all these beautiful women kept coming up to me and going, "Oh, Bobby said to be sure and say hi."
Well,
It was actually pretty great because I didn't think I was going to know anybody there. It was 25. It's a small festival, like 2,500 people, but it was so incredible because I imagine it was like Woodstock was back when Woodstock happened, because there was a common theme. They wanted me to do an hour-long sax meditation, which at a festival, that, and I figured, maybe nobody's going to show up. My 3 friends will be here. And a lot of people came. It was packed. But the whole intention of the festival was the music was all consciousness kind of music in the sense. There were DJs and stuff, and it went till 2 a.m. But the whole atmosphere, the whole vibe for 3 days was just like you'd want to create a planet like this, and it inspired me in ways. Like the piece of music we're going to do is called Peace Prayer. That music and commonality can really create change. And Jim Denovan, the land artist, was there creating a sacred geometry piece the whole time. And the people who curated it definitely lost money on it, but they were so thrilled and honored to be able to bring together, artists and musicians and people committed to change in some way. So not only was it a beautiful sacred space, but there was like a higher intent to it that was just inspiring.
I really love that. And
Yeah, it was.
do you gentlemen have these types of spaces in your life that you've traveled to that really just had this profound impact, on your artistry or what you do as a filmmaker? I mean, New York, when I was living in New York, it really, I really tapped into this like empathic energy, and I had to really find myself to protect myself from all this commotion going on. In fact, when I moved back to New Mexico, I couldn't sleep because I didn't hear any gunshots or, like it was hard for me to sleep. So you really find yourself in these different places. Matt, do you have any place like that?
For me, it's Palm Springs. And I know people will immediately think poolside, martinis, and all that, which is all there. But when I used to live in LA and we would drive to Palm Springs, the second I would see those mountains, it was decompression. And I felt completely different. And I could just look at those mountains all day long. For me, that's what Palm Springs. I love the desert.
Did you ever go up to Idlewild?
I have friends who live up there. It's a beautiful place.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have the natural water there, clean water. It's really beautiful.
But yeah, I love the desert. I love Joshua Tree. That's another great place for me.
Yeah. What about you, Tom?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think when I was in New York, I was really lucky to live 2 blocks away from Prospect Park. So if you've never been to Brooklyn, Prospect Park, it's the central park of Brooklyn. So, and it's just gorgeous. There's tons of trails that are really isolated. So just being in nature in the middle of the city was really cool. And I think thinking back on it now, it's like I was just lucky enough to always have to go through Prospect Park or something. So I got that fixed without even consciously thinking of it. And I think now I have to be more conscious of it because, in New Mexico, you walk around less. There's a lot of nature around, but I work in a studio, so I don't have windows. I'm in this facility most of the day, and then finding ways to just take a walk outside and be in nature and get fresh air and do some grounding work as well. That's sort of my space. So nature, really. Yeah.
Let's produce a nature series for you.
Yeah.
So you can
Right, yeah.
be out there. Something I'm going to do. It's a full moon. And I love hiking up to Ski Santa Fe from the parking lot to the top of the mountain. And the full moon rises right above this mountain here. It's like someone turned on the light of the mountain. Wow. And then I snowboard down. But it's one of those experiences. I did it every full moon last year when I was in town, and I'm going to do it this year as well. You get a little workout, but also it's just so beautiful, and it helps me to reconnect with nature in my busy life. And so it's we have to really dedicate our time in nature to do that.
That's so important. I really believe that. I mean, I think it doesn't have to be that long even, because I worked in New York for a while, and I'd have clients like go find just a patch of dirt and put their body on it or something.
Yeah.
And I had to do that in New York just to stay grounded in some way.
Yeah, you can feel it in your body too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, being around wildlife, being around animals. I heard this great story of Lorraine lives out in Galisteo, and her neighbors have horses, and they hear this saxophone playing at night, and they're like, "Who is this? Who's playing this?" And the horses would come up to the property line.
Wow.
And she was serenading these horses. Not intently, but you were just playing out there, right? So you're really connecting with nature under the stars, but also with animals.
Well, and I think it's almost like it's a metaphor. Anything you put out in the universe responds. There's a response to it, whatever it is. And I just, every sunset, would go out and play the sax, kind of a gratitude practice for me, really important. And at one point, there's a really high fence that's kind of separates our property from the neighbor. I think it was during COVID, he emailed me and said, I just want to thank you, and I want you to know that every night all 4 horses come up to the fence and listen. So, I mean, then I started to be able to hear them, because I wasn't really listening for it before. And it became such a sacred practice for me. I felt obligated to be home by sunset to play for the horses. And I think having practices for me that connect me to nature and the animal world or other worlds is essential for living in some way.
I agree. I've been studying a lot about electromagnetic fields, and I read about the horse's heart. His electromagnetic field is 5 times larger than a human heart. And it really, as I ride horses, it really changed the way I step up to the stables, in reverence to this animal. I'm walking into their field. And it's really changed, at least for me, the recognition, the relationship between the horse and myself before I go ranching and ride them or cattle, get the cattle and stuff like that. So being cognizant of that, and just music is sound waves, of course. And so these sound waves are, for all that can hear, are, caressing these animals' ears. And so it's a wonder that they're coming up to you to...
I mean, for me, the response, it's the best audience ever on earth. I couldn't ask for anything that touches me more deeply. And I think it's like whenever I play outside, something responds, whether it's crows or... I played at the Pecos River the other day and a blue heron came over.
Wow.
And, it's like, I think that's why money is secondary to the joy. And we all have to make a living, and I totally get that. But I think we'd be doing what we do, in a sense, even if the response wasn't in a physical way like that, just because it's what we love.
And Matt, when you're preparing for a show that you're about to do or a curated event, are you listening to music? Are you listening to...
I work in silence.
Wow, you do, okay.
Part of it is, it just depends. Most of the time I work in silence. I don't like distractions. There's something about being in silence that I know. I'm just inside. I'm just inside. And part of it also, when I'm making something for someone, I think your energy of whatever emotion you have when you're making that piece goes into the piece. So I try and make myself as neutral as possible when I'm making something, a commission for someone, so that it's as clean and clear as I can make it. And that's the most I can do for whoever it is I'm making something for.
Because I'm so enlightened, I meditate and sit in silence.
I'm terrible at meditating.
Yeah,
I do not meditate.
I'm actually joking because when I try to sit in silence, I hear the voices and it's just like, And
Same.
yeah, it's
It's too many voices.
It's hard.
so
Not
many.
schizophrenic, but
Yeah. I like to do this thing where it's
What are their names?
yeah, not good or bad, but healthy, unhealthy, so it's a mental inventory I try to take where which of this is mine that serves this healthy purpose that I'm doing now. If I need to cook myself dinner, I need to focus on that and eat, this.
It's a dinner meditation.
It's a dinner meditation, exactly, right? Cutting an orange or peeling an orange is such a great meditation itself. There's so many sensations. During the pandemic, I started to write. I think I'm up to like 560 sensations. One of them is peeling an orange in a shower. And it's the best thing because the citrus, the pop, the smell, it's just the best thing to do. And so there's so many sensations, that you can experience while you're doing that. I know when painting, I like to listen to music. I like the lyricalness of it. I like the way it flows through my body, I'm sure when you're directing, you need silence on the set. Right? You're not listening to earbuds, you're not listening to music, you're very in tune with everything that's going on. So you have this kind of synesthesia experience, the smells, the taste, the look, the sounds.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so much to focus on when you're standing behind the director's monitor, right? You're watching everything that's happening in the image, you're listening to the sounds that are coming through. But it's also such a collaborative piece. Thankfully, we have great crew here, which is wonderful. And when you find those people to help you, right? I'm kind of divulging a little bit, but that's where collaboration in this big types of projects really comes in play, and finding those people that you can trust to catch something that you're not catching, even though it's you're being as focused as possible. You still need more eyes too.
Yeah, and it's a sense of place. Having that sense of place. I know when I went to visit you, Lorraine, with our very dear friend Alexandra Eldridge, we did a little sound healing. I got to lay on this harp bed. I'm probably calling it something else, but
What's a harp bed?
Sound bed.
Sound bed.
What did you call it? A harp bed?
Harp bed, where I lay down on this bed, and there were these large chimes that were hovering above me, and then you played the string harp below me, and I really felt it all resonating. I never felt, so aligned with who I was. It really brought me to this space, and I had a choice. I could be uncomfortable in that moment, or I could just surrender to it. And so the surrendering was an amazing thing to do. I'm glad you provided that experience for me. I know you do it for several others.
Well, I think that's the choice in life, either surrender or be uncomfortable.
Wow.
Resist or, yeah. I mean, and I wanted to say something about the stillness too. I think that's one of the reasons we're all in New Mexico. I mean, that's a big reason. I've never experienced stillness like I have here. And so then the sound and whatever else we do is such a contrast. I work in silence too, and I'm someone who loves music, but I can't have it as background. And so when you do something like a sound experience, where every bit of your awareness is on what you're feeling in your body from these tones and these vibrations, it kind of brings you into that single focus of being present that we all do when we work. And I think that's one of the beauties of altered states, which is how I think of the sound experience. Because you can't think. You really can't think much. You might at first, have a few thoughts, but then you're just in your body experiencing that vibration. And that's why I love it. I mean, and that's why I love the stillness, because for me that does the same thing.
Well, what's interesting is when you're this whole time, whenever you talk, there's something about your voice where I feel like time stops and everything is absolutely still, and I can hear every single thing you're saying. It's amazing. So,
Wow.
Not that you're doing anything, but you're just being you.
Definitely.
And for me, that's like a thing. I love seeing it. So.
I love that you mentioned that. And in addition to your voice, I've gotten to hear you play your music. And it also, Matt, wait till you hear Lorraine play. Lorraine has a special guest here for this episode, Beth Quist.
Who's also from Colorado.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So, music is the ongoing heartbeat of the chapel sessions. And so with that, I say we get to it because I can't wait any further. I'd love to hear you play again. Everybody, Lorraine Weiss. Thank you. Would you please play?
Before that happens, I do want to say, anyone who tries peeling an orange in the shower, let's Have it in the comments, okay?
Instagram me at Bobby Beals Presents. I would love to hear all about it.
Right, yeah. I
That's
know
a
I'm going to try
visual.
it. So.
That is a visual that's going to stay with me.
It's really appealing. Well, Lorraine, would you play for us?
Oh, absolutely. And the amazing Beth Quist, we will be playing for everyone.
I'm excited.
Peace prayer.
Peace prayer. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. This has been wonderful. Hi. So this is the amazing Beth Quist, who just happened to be passing through town. Very, very lucky to have her on the hammer dulcimer. Incredible voice and all kinds of other multi things that she does. And so this is a composition that is mostly improv that we did this for Bobby Beals, being that wonderful human he is in this beautiful space. And it's called Peace Prayer.
reverence for the sound you have left in this chapel. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And thank you to Tom Ragan as our guest, and Matt Campos, and Lorraine Weiss. Thank you so much. And I appreciate our crew from Ola, Nick, Jason, Julian, Tom, Sandy, the whole squad. Thank you all for listening and watching the chapel sessions.
Thank you, Bobby.
Thank